My dear friends, we are here to explore, to understand, and to embody the profound truth of knowing your worth. Now, you might ask, Neville, what do you mean by knowing your worth? Let me tell you, it is not merely a matter of self-esteem or confidence as the world understands it. No, it goes far deeper than that. To know your worth is to recognize and claim your divine nature, to understand that you are not separate from the great I am, but are in fact one with it. You see, my dear friends, you are not just a physical being walking upon this earth. You are consciousness itself, individualized. You are God in expression, the very power that created the universe, localized in human form. This is your true worth, and it is infinite, boundless. But how many of you truly live in this awareness? How many of you walk through your days fully cognizant of the divine power that resides within you? I dare say, not many. And why is this? It is because you have forgotten your true nature. You have allowed the appearances of the outer world to dictate your sense of worth. Let me share with you a fundamental truth. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner states. It is a mirror showing you the contents of your own consciousness. If you see limitation, lack, or unworthiness in your life, it is because these states exist within you. But remember, these are not your true nature. They are simply states you have assumed, beliefs you have accepted. Now, you might be thinking, but Neville, I've tried positive thinking, I've recited affirmations, I've visualized success, and yet I still don't feel worthy. My dear friends, let me assure you, knowing your worth goes far beyond these surface level techniques. It is not about convincing yourself of your worth through repetition or force. It is about awakening to the truth that has always been. You see, you cannot become worthy. You already are worthy. Your task is not to achieve worth, but to recognize and embody the worth that is inherently yours. It is to shed the false beliefs and limitations that have obscured your true nature. So how do we do this? How do we come to know our true worth? The answer lies in what I call the law of assumption. This law states that you become what you assume yourself to be. If you persist in assuming a state, it must and will become your reality. Now, when I speak of assumption, I do not mean mere wishful thinking or daydreaming. I speak of a deep, unshakable knowing. It is the feeling of already being that which you desire to be. It is living from the end, experiencing now what you would experience if your desire were already fulfilled. In the context of knowing your worth, this means assuming the state of one who is fully aware of their divine nature. It means feeling now what you would feel if you truly knew, beyond all doubt, that you are one with the infinite power of the universe. It means living, moving, and having your being in the awareness of your... But how do we make this assumption? How do we shift our consciousness to this elevated state? The key lies in your imagination. Your imagination is not some frivolous faculty for idle fantasy. It is the very workshop of creation. It is through your imagination that you can transcend the limitations of your current state and enter into the reality of your choosing. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, feel yourself relaxing, letting go of all tension and resistance. Now imagine yourself as you would be if you truly knew your worth. See yourself moving through the world with unshakable confidence, not born of ego, but of a deep knowing of your divine nature. Feel the peace that comes from knowing that you are one with the source of all creation. Experience the joy that arises when you recognize that all possibilities are open to you. Sense the love that flows through you when you understand that you are a unique and invaluable expression of the divine. Hold this image, this feeling, this knowing in your consciousness. Let it permeate every cell of your being. This, my dear friends, is the state of one who knows their worth. And as you persist in this assumption, as you continue to live from this state, you will find your outer world beginning to reflect this inner knowing. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, this seems too simple. Surely knowing my worth can't just be a matter of imagination and assumption. Let me assure you, there is nothing more powerful than your assumption. The world you see around you, with all its seeming solidity, is nothing more than an outpicturing of the assumptions you hold in your consciousness. You see, consciousness is the only reality. All that you perceive as real and solid in your world is simply consciousness objectified. Your body, your circumstances, your relationships, all of these are but reflections of your state of consciousness. And your sense of worth, or lack thereof, is a pivotal part of that consciousness. When you truly know your worth, when you live from the assumption of your divine nature, you set in motion a complete reorganization of your world. People will respond to you differently. Opportunities will open up before you. Circumstances that once seemed insurmountable will dissolve or transform. Why? Because you have changed the cause and the effect must follow. But let me caution you, this is not about manipulating the world or others to boost your ego. True worth knows no comparison, no competition. When you truly know your worth, you have no need to prove it to anyone. You have no need to diminish others to feel better about yourself. Instead, you naturally lift others up. You recognize in them the same divine nature that you have recognized in yourself. Now, some of you might be wondering, Neville, if I'm truly one with the divine, why don't I feel it? Why do I struggle with feelings of unworthiness? My dear friends, these feelings of unworthiness are not your true self. They're simply states that you have unconsciously assumed and perpetuated. You see, from the moment of your birth, you have been bombarded with messages about your worth or lack thereof. Society, family, education, media, all of these have contributed to shaping your beliefs about yourself. And over time, you have internalized these messages, accepting them as truth. But I tell you now, these limiting beliefs are not the truth of who you are. They are simply stories you have been telling yourself, assumptions you have been living from. And just as you have assumed these limiting states, you can assume the state of one who knows their truth. Remember, the power to change your life lies not in the world around you, but in your own consciousness. It is not about changing things on the outside, but about changing your perception, your assumption on the inside. As you change your concept of self, as you assume the state of one who knows their worth, the outer world must conform to reflect this new assumption. Now, I wanted to address a concern that often arises when we speak of knowing our worth. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't it selfish or egotistical to focus so much on my own worth? Let me assure you, there is nothing selfish about recognizing and embodying your true nature. When you truly know your worth, when you live from the awareness of your divine nature, you naturally become a blessing to the world around you. You see, when you know that you are one with the source of all creation, you understand that all others are too. You recognize the divine in every person you meet, in every circumstance you encounter. This recognition leads to a profound shift in how you interact with the world. Instead of coming from a place of lack or need, you come from a place of fullness and love. Instead of seeking to get, you seek to give. For you know that in giving, you are giving to yourself. For all is one in the divine mind. Moreover, by knowing and embodying your worth, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what is possible when one recognizes their true nature. In this way, knowing your worth becomes an act of service to all of humanity. But let me be clear. Knowing your worth is not a one-time event. It is not something you achieve and then are done with. It is a continuous practice, a way of being that you must choose again and again, moment by moment. For the world will constantly present you with experiences that seem to challenge your worth, that tempt you to fall back into old patterns of thinking and being. This is where the power of persistence comes in. You must persist in your assumption of worth even when the outer world seems to contradict it. You must hold fast to the truth of your being even when circumstances appear to deny it. For remember, the outer world is but a reflection. It cannot help but conform to your persistent assumption. So how do we persist in this assumption? How do we maintain our knowing of our worth in the face of life's challenges? The key lies in what I call the law of reversibility. This law states that while your outer world naturally reflects your inner states, you can also use your outer actions to reinforce and strengthen your inner assumptions. In other words, act as though you know your worth, even if you don't fully feel it yet. Carry yourself with the dignity of one who knows they are a divine being. Speak with the authority of one who understands their oneness with the source of all creation. Make decisions from the standpoint of one who recognizes their infinite value. As you persist in these outer actions, you will find your inner state naturally aligning with them. For the inner and the outer are not truly separate, but are two aspects of the same reality, consciousness expressed. Now I want to address another question that often arises. Neville, if I truly knew my worth, wouldn't I already have everything I desire? Wouldn't my life be perfect? My dear friends, knowing your worth does not mean that you will never face challenges or that every desire will instantly manifest. What it does mean is that you will approach these challenges and desires from a completely different perspective. When you know your worth, you understand that no challenge is greater than the divine power within you. You recognize that every experience, even those that seem negative, is an opportunity for growth and expansion. You see your desires not as things to be grasped at or struggled for, but as natural expressions of your divine nature, already fulfilled in the realm of infinite possibility. Moreover, knowing your worth shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already are. Instead of constantly seeking for something outside yourself to make you feel worthy, you recognize that you are already complete, already whole. Your worth is not determined by what you have or what you do, but by who you are. This shift in perspective brings with it a profound peace and contentment. It doesn't mean you stop desiring or striving for things, but rather that your desires and actions come from a place of fullness rather than lack. You create, achieve not to prove your worth, but as a joyful expression of the worth you already know you possess. Now, let us delve deeper into the practical application of knowing your worth. How do we bring this knowing into our daily lives? How do we make it more than just an intellectual concept, but a lived reality? The first step is to become aware of your current assumptions about your worth. Pay attention to your thoughts, your self-talk, your emotional reactions to situations. Notice when you feel unworthy or inferior. Observe the situations that trigger feelings of inadequacy. This awareness is crucial, for you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Once you have become aware of these limiting assumptions, the next step is to consciously choose a new assumption. This is where your imagination comes into play. Imagine how you would think, feel, and act if you truly knew your worth. What would your self-talk be like? How would you carry yourself? How would you interact with others? Create a vivid, detailed mental image of this version of yourself, the self that knows its true worth. Feel the emotions associated with this state. Experience the confidence, the peace, the joy that comes from knowing your divine nature. Make this imaginal act as real and vivid as possible. Now here's the crucial pause. You must live from this new assumption. You must persist in the feeling of being this version of yourself, even when your outer world is not yet caught up. Remember, your outer world is a reflection of your inner state. As you persist in this new assumption, your outer world must conform to reflect it. This persistence requires faith. Not blind faith, but the faith that comes from understanding the laws of mind. It requires you to trust in the reality of your imaginal act more than the evidence of your physical senses. For remember, what you see in the physical world is but the effect. The cause lies in your consciousness. As you persist in this new assumption, you will likely face doubts and challenges. Old patterns of thinking and feeling will attempt to reassert themselves. This is natural and to be expected. When this happens, do not fight against these old patterns. Simply observe them, acknowledge them, and then gently return your attention to your new assumption of worth. It's also important to surround yourself with reminders of your true nature. This could be in the form of affirmations, but not mere surface-level positive statements. Instead, use statements that remind you of your divine nature, of your oneness with the source of all creation. Statements like I am, that I am or I, and the Father are one can be powerful reminders of your true worth. Additionally, seek out teachings, books, and experiences that reinforce your understanding of your divine nature. Immerse yourself in the wisdom of those who have realized their oneness with the divine. Let their words and experiences inspire and guide you on your own journey of self-realization. But remember, while external teachings can be helpful, the ultimate authority on your worth is you. No one else can give you your worth or take it away. It is your divine birthright, inherent in your very being. Your task is simply to recognize and claim it. Now, as you begin to truly know your worth, you may notice changes in your relationships. Some people in your life may react positively to your newfound sense of worth, while others may seem uncomfortable or even hostile. This is because your shift in consciousness disturbs the equilibrium of your existing relationships. Do not be alarmed by this. It is a natural part of the process of transformation. Some relationships may need to be released, while others will transform to align with your new state of being. Trust that as you persist in your new assumption, your outer world, including your relationships, will reorganize itself to reflect your new state of consciousness. Moreover, as you come to know your true worth, you will naturally attract people and circumstances that align with this knowing. You will find yourself in the company of those who recognize and honor their own divine nature and who can see and appreciate the divinity in you. Now, I want to address a common misconception about knowing your worth. Some people believe that truly knowing their worth would mean never experiencing negative emotions or challenges. This is not the case. Knowing your worth doesn't mean you become immune to the full spectrum of human experience. What it does mean is that you approach all experiences, positive and negative, from a place of innate worthiness. You understand that your worth is not determined by external circumstances or fleeting emotions. You recognize that even in moments of sadness, fear, or anger, your fundamental nature remains divine and worthy. This understanding allows you to move through life challenges with grace and resilience. Instead of being knocked off balance by every difficulty, you stand firm in the knowledge of who you truly are. You see challenges not as punishments or signs of your unworthiness, but as opportunities for growth and expansion. Furthermore, knowing your worth allows you to experience joy and success more fully. When you know that you are inherently worthy, you can receive life's blessings without guilt or fear. You understand that abundance is your natural state, and you allow yourself to experience it fully. Now, let's explore how knowing your worth affects your creative power. You see, when you truly know your worth, you tap into the infinite creative power of the universe. You recognize that this power is not something separate from you, but is the very essence of who you are. This recognition liberates your creative faculties. No longer do you create from a place of lack or need, trying to prove your worth or fill a perceived void. Instead, you create from a place of fullness, as a joyful expression of your divine nature. When you know your worth, you understand that you are not a passive recipient of life circumstances, but the active creator of your reality. You recognize that your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions are the building blocks of your experience. And armed with this knowledge, you begin to consciously create the life you desire. This doesn't mean that every thought instantly manifests in your physical reality. The process of creation operates according to divine timing, which may not always align with your human expectations. But when you know your worth, you trust in this divine timing. You have faith that what is for your highest good will manifest at the perfect moment. Moreover, knowing your worth allows you to dream bigger. When you understand that you are one with the source of all creation, you realize that nothing is truly impossible for you. You begin to set goals and hold visions that may seem outrageous to others, but which you know are simply expressions of your divine nature. But remember, the goal is not to achieve things in order to feel worthy. The goal is to achieve and create as an expression of the worth you already know you possess. This subtle shift in perspective changes everything. It transforms the process of achievement from a struggle to a joyful unfolding. Now let's address how knowing your worth affects your relationship with the concept of failure. In the worldly sense, failure is often seen as proof of unworthiness. But when you truly know your worth, you understand that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback and opportunities for growth. When you know your worth, you're not afraid to take risks or to make mistakes. You understand that your worth is not determined by your successes or failures, but by your inherent divine nature. This frees you to explore, to experiment, to push beyond your comfort zone. You see, every experience, whether deemed a success or failure by worldly standards, as an opportunity to learn, grow, and express your divine creativity. In conclusion, my dear friends, knowing your worth is not just about feeling good about yourself. It is about awakening to the truth of your being. It is about recognizing your oneness with the divine and living from that recognition. As you persist in this knowing, as you continue to assume the state of one who truly knows their worth, you will find your life transforming in ways you may have never thought possible. You will move through the world with a quiet confidence, a deep peace, and an unshakable joy. For you will know beyond all doubt that you are a divine being, infinite in potential, boundless in creativity, and worthy beyond measure. This is your true nature. This is your birthright. Claim it now and watch as your world transforms to reflect the magnificence of who you truly are.